things we can't even sort of decide what's true and what's not true. We just hear so many things. We hear so many things that I've decided not to listen anymore and just go according to how I feel within myself, wherever I must um, hear some things that I don't want to hear. And most of the things that I hear nowadays is I don't want to hear it, but it's there. It's there. And we can deal with it in two different ways. We can get all scared and worried, or we can say, right, it is what it is. Father, you're my strength. Just show me how to deal, accept, understand, and go through these paths that we are being led through. And one of the books that I have read that I found so inspiring where this is concerned is the Four Agreements. The first one I read was the Four Agreements. Since that one was sold and studied by thousands all over the world, Don Miguel Ruiz wrote the Five Agreements. And I, if possible, Venice, can you put up the agreements on the screen, please, so everybody can see them? And then we look, see, go through them. Yes. The four agreements were, don't make assumptions, don't take anything personally, be impeccable with your words, and always do your best. And then he added, be skeptical, but listen. Listen and learn. And all that is so, so very good. Have any of you ladies heard of this book or read this book before?
No.
No? Well, it's an amazing book to have. I am an avid reader, and I read things that expand my spiritual and emotional self, and some practical too. I read things with information that makes me grow inside. And this information, I believe, can give you awesome power over yourself. Remember, the only thing, our only person that we can change is ourselves. We can tell people many things. We've told many people about God, and they, in turn, have to make that decision. Are they going to have this relationship? But in doing so, we also have to make some arrangements and some agreements with ourselves in order to follow that path, the path of righteousness, which begins with the man in the mirror. Okay, so I want to go through the first one, as you can see there. What have you done with my agreement, Venice? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Don't make assumptions. No, that's not where I want to begin. I want to begin with the first agreement. Again, don't take anything personally. That was the first agreement. Don't take anything personally. Okay, in not making assumptions, it says, find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can and avoid misunderstanding, sadness, drama. With this agreement, you can completely transform your life. As I have asked you all, if you've been familiar with any of this, and none of you appear to have heard of this book. It's an amazing book. So I'll just go with you and we can discuss the agreement, not to make assumptions. You know, sometimes we meet people And we just take one look, and if you're a Jamaican, Jamaicans have a way of when you meet somebody, looking at them foot to head and head to foot. It's a Jamaican habit. And with that, you're taking a picture with your eyes, and your brain is writing paragraph after paragraph, even before the person opened their mouth sometimes. This has happened. This is a people thing. I'm sure it's not just Jamaican, because people are always making assumptions about others and about things we hear. From what you can see of this statement, ladies, what do you think of it? Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstanding, sadness, and drama. With just this one agreement, do you agree that you can completely transform your life? How do you see this, feel this?
This is Mother Weir.
Um, um, I'm of a generation, like Sister Faith said, you know, we sum up somebody by looking them head to foot and forming our own assumption about the person before even knowing who the person is. And that is why they say you shouldn't look you're gonna read the book, don't look at the cover.
Yes.
Because
Judge the book
right
by
away
it, yes.
we are thinking that individual is so and so, and that person is a different individual. But it's a person. I think this is a personal thing. You
Yeah.
have to make assumptions because I'm someone who I don't form friendship right away.
Mhm.
I I I look at that person and I form my own assumption whether I should give that person leeway into my small space.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, this is an individual question.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes.
Can I add to that? I certainly have a couple of people, a few people that I know, a couple extreme, where sometimes I'm actually afraid to talk to them because they are so already assuming that what you say isn't what you mean,
Yeah.
which is a way to, it almost makes you bite your tongue and not want to speak because everything is taken or
Out
reinterpreted.
of context. Yes.
Oh, it's terrible. It's
Yes.
terrible. You know, it's something that I find incredibly frustrating and even upsetting. Those people who, when you speak, they think that their wonderful telepathic gifts mean that they know that that's not what you mean.
Yeah. It is most disconcerting. I've come across it too many times, and I have decided. I take a decision on that, but we'll come to that. We'll come to that soon. Yes, yes. What do you think, Valerie, regarding this not making assumptions?
Not making assumptions. I think within my own family, because I don't really have that many friends or outside social groups,
Yeah.
always telling me off because I'm always assuming what he's going to say or what he's going to think. So I am deliberately making an effort to listen more before assuming what he's going to say or what that person is going to say or judging them by their, and that is something I've learned in business, that you can't judge a person
By the looks.
No, no. Yes, that's true, and that is so important, and we can make personal judgments that it's so wrong. And one of the reasons that it's not good to make assumptions and judgment you meet a person, you don't know their background, you don't know their past experiences. And remember that experiences is what make up this individual, every individual. Our experiences, if we can go back to it, we can see clearly where a certain thing that happened made us make a certain decision that sort of stamped on our personality. And there you are. You know, if you had a bad romance, first of all, you look at men differently. And of course, it all depends what you hear from the older women in your life. I know the things that I've heard as a child. My mother used to talk to me as if I was another grown-up.
Mm.
They all had to, I was the first grandchild in the family. And so I don't know at what point they started calling me Little Mama, because I used to take care of everybody. My grandmother needed her hair to comb in when I was old enough. Yeah, I was the one that was called to come and comb her hair. Sleep out underneath the bed because she can't get down there anymore. That was me. So yes, and that in itself teaches you so much that you start creating what you expect life is going to be and how you have to be in order to survive and overcome and traverse this veil of tears. So yes, if we don't make assumptions, we could give ourselves a less brain ache. Can we see the second, please?
Mhm. Yep.
Okay. Don't take anything personally. That's tough. I used to take everything personally. This means, and what he's explaining is, nothing others do is because of you. What others may say and do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. When they are immune to when you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. You know, we know, oh, you can suffer when people say certain things about you, or when you hear that people say certain things about you. How you can, you know, the first thing is disappointment in that, then anger, then sometimes you want to retaliate according to what that person has said about you. And these things give you nervous breakdown and, you know, mess up your head from my perspective. Um, I'd like you please to tell me, how do you react to this statement? You know, don't worry about what the next person say. What others say is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. When you're immune to others' opinion, I can agree with that, and actions, you won't be a victim of needless suffering. Agree or disagree?
I am someone who have always over the years said that, you know, you say that everybody won't like you. Some people will like you some of the time, and some people will like you all the time.
Mhm.
And to me, it's water in the duck's back, because
Yes,
you can't stop people from making assumption. I mean, you know,
their opinions.
making personal statement about you.
Mhm.
But as long as you know yourself, I think there shouldn't be any problem, because people will forever. Because we are said, don't forget we are people.
Yes, yes. We're one of those.
Yes, Sister Faith. Yes, yes.
Yes,
You know, people will
yes,
always be people.
yes.
Because, I mean, it is like when I met my, I've been married about 53 years. And when I met my husband, I wasn't daunted on him. I look him up, I look him down, I look him right, I look him left. And look how over the years has spun out for us, you know. But that's just part of life.
It
And we are
is.
all individuals.
It is. It is. It's a human thing.
Yes, ma'am.
But we know that some people are so dependent on other people's opinion
Yes.
that they can't, they're forever worrying about what this one said and that one said.
They take offense quite easily.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that can weaken your character because it
That's
makes
right.
you susceptible to anything anybody else say. That's how that person feel. Okay. If you don't have to have that person in your life, you don't have to have that person in your life, right? So you can avoid the confrontation, the aggravation, and the arguments. Now, when they're your family, it's a whole other ball game. You have to handle it like you're playing catch up or playing baseball. Depending on which member of the family it is and what the circumstances are, you see how you handle the situation. Sometimes the situation is just say nothing, just listen and let it go. Listen and let it go. Because you do realize that we are not even the same person that we were yesterday to today.
Not at all. Not at all.
We are in continuous, ourselves for a start, changes and redo themselves, rebuild themselves in our bodies every moment. And so is our mind, and so is our thoughts, and so is our character. So there was a time, you see, when I used to, anybody say anything to me and hurt me, however long ago it was, I used to hold it against them. I used to hold on to it and remember this person did this. And yeah, they're coming up towards me again. What I'm going to do me this time? I used to be like that.
You're only
And
hurting yourself. You're only hurting yourself.
absolutely, absolutely. And this was, even Jesus mentioned this when he said, forgive. This is where forgiveness comes in. Don't take it on board. Let it go. Forgive.
I wanted to just take the time to welcome Gillian and Annette to the
I
platform.
can't see them.
There. No,
Yeah.
that's why I mentioned it.
Okay, welcome, ladies. Nice to see you when I do.
Thank you.
We're talking about the 4 agreements, or rather the 5 agreements, and going through them, what they mean, and how they correlate and help us to develop as individuals. Have you heard of the 4 agreements before, ladies, newcomers?
No.
Okay. Well, it's a book by a Mexican, sort of a priest, Don Miguel Ruiz. He wrote the 4 agreements, and the book it's just a small book about 6 inches square, but it tells us and teaches us how to handle ourselves and how to handle other people and how to handle all of what we have to come across in this world if we just use the right agreement in the right situation.
Yeah.
So we have gone through the second one. Did you have anything to say about the second one? Take nothing personally, Valerie?
I think it's all based on confidence. And I know with maturity, I have learned not to take things personally. How to basically not be so reactive when said, and I think more so within the family.
Yes.
Are all work in progress when it comes to what people's opinions are of us.
Yes.
That is continually affirming who we are, and we really don't care. But I think down we do care, but that is totally differently to how I would have reacted maybe in my younger self. Okay, so a confidence that you don't allow, or you don't become so sensitive to.
Good. That's right. That is true. Ladies, Gillian, Did you say Gillian and Houvenese?
Gillian is here and
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, okay. And you can see on the screen what
I can.
we're just going through the first and second agreements. We're talking agreements today. The first one, which was to find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want and communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstanding, sadness, drama. With just one agreement, you can completely change your life. So yes, that was the first one. And the second one was nothing others do is because of you. What others then do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. When you're immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. Have you got any comment on that, Gillian?
Yeah, making assumptions. I think, and where it says find the courage to ask questions, I think sometimes it depends on your relationship. Like I think with Valerie was saying, with your family members as well, can be different from people who you know, or for a short period of time, or people who actually have known you for a long period of time. So like how we have changed, and you were saying earlier, like we change because we have developed different knowledge about you know, things that will impact us. And sometimes, you know, we're like myself, you can be molded. So I can remember some of the things that my grandmother would say to me, and that will help mold me into a different, you know, help mold and reset my mind and things like that. But other people don't actually have that. And sometimes you can ask a question if you are feeling a little bit like out of sorts. You think, was I right about something? And you can ask a question to someone who you believe, who you think knows you quite well. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's good to talk about how you're feeling, so long as the other person is quite transparent with you as well. And, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with talking how you feel rather than making an assumption, because that in itself, like you said, that in itself takes the courage, because a lot of people go along thinking that they are, like there's this thing in where I used to work in office called a 360 degree, is it Sister Venice may remember it.
360 review or something.
That's it, 360 degree review. And as a manager, you would have to give these 360 degree reviews out to booklets that you'd give out to your staff. And it's about them looking at themselves, other people looking at them, then looking at their colleagues, looking at your manager, and everybody trying to, you know, come to a common ground. But, you know, people have different personalities, and just the same way that we have different learning skills, you know, we can learn differently, but it doesn't mean to say that you won't learn. But some people just, you know, prefer to stay as they are. But you have to be able to, I think the main thing here is good communication clearly with other people who you trust. Not taking things personally. Sometimes I think we just do. Sometimes we can just take things personally, and it can be upsetting. But that's where prayer comes into place as well, isn't it? Sometimes we do find that we take things personally from our, like you said, from your parents, from people in your family, your husbands, your wife, your children, and you can talk to God about it. And you know, it's the power of the tongue again, isn't it? Because I know things that my mother had said to me have been really painful and hurtful. And I've been able to say to her, you know, when you said X, that was really painful.
But my mother is, she's 80, in her 80s, and she doesn't apologize. So
I know what you mean.
Yes.
I put it down to maybe it's the time that they were and the way that they were raised
Yeah.
by my grandmother and my great grandmother.
Mhm.
I sometimes you have to just accept
Yes, yes.
some of people's ways and just move on.
They're just are. And this is exactly why you should
yourself.
not take it personally.
Yeah,
That is exactly
sometimes you
right.
do have to. I know that, as an example, my mother said some really awful things to me in 2016,
Mhm.
and through that, my children, my daughter speaks to her, but my son refuses to speak to her now,
Mhm.
and that's quite hard. But I've forgiven her,
Mhm.
and I've spoken to her about it, and I'm quite outwardly speaking to her about it. And that was things that we all took personally, because she, you know, she said something against me that then had a counteract,
On them.
personal effect on my children.
Mhm.
And they're, you know, they're still in that place.
They're growing. They're growing. They'll grow. They'll develop. They'll, you know, especially for their birthday, you give them a copy of this book. It made a great difference to my life.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because you said it earlier, and I was pondering, thinking, what was the name of that again?
Yes, the 4 agreements. But now you can get the 5 agreements, which includes one extra agreement.
I think it's the 4 agreements is the one to get. The
Yes.
5th agreement is a follow-up book, which adds 1. But
Yes.
the 4 agreements is fantastic.
It's a book called The 4 Agreements then.
Yes.
And the surname of the author is Ruiz, R-U-I-Z.
Yeah, Don Miguel Ruiz.
R-U-I-Z.
Yes, yes. And it's a good little book to have, really, with so much vital information about how we can be the best that we can be with ourselves, and that then allows us to be better with others.
I think that with this one, with the agreements, for me, the don't take anything personally was a big one for me in my own development. And it's interesting, that's my mum there, but I'm going to talk about family, so excuse me. But my siblings are very attacking people. They'll tell you everything you're not, and they're quite vicious and quite violent, one verbally and physically violent. And I really struggled for a very long time. And really through my church as well, I got a lot of counseling on that to understand it and to move forward. I wouldn't take communion, for example, because if you have a problem with your brother, you're supposed to leave it. But mine, you know, oh, sister, I take it. It says brother in the Bible, but your brother or your sister. But I wouldn't take communion for many years, maybe 10 years, because I couldn't resolve it. It's very attacking. But I've observed since, one has had so many injunctions taken out against him. Oh, so it's not just me. And the other is fights with everybody out on the street, in public, with their children, with just everybody, with my mom, with everybody. But it took a long time for me to not take it on board and to think, you know, this is a mental issue or whatever it is, or a personal and inner dislike. So it took a long time, and I must admit, it's when I read this, sometimes it is a projection of their own reality, because maybe I'm trying to be the best person I can be, but I'm not perfect, and I might hurt a person, and yet somebody over yonder is going to forgive me and still show me love. Yeah. And yet I see some people who are really unkind and unpleasant and curmudgeonly, yeah. and yet they have everybody running after them like they're queen or king bee. Yeah. So I realized that it's not about you. You should personally try to do your best, but the outside reactions to you is about them. It's
Yes.
about them. I hope I'm making sense with this. I could go out and start kicking and screaming. I could go downstairs and slap up my husband who's home, and he could choose to either slap me back and batter me, or, you know, God forbid, or hold my wrists and stop me, or hug me and kiss me, or just chups and say, "What you up to?" It's their reaction. Whatever my action is, it's their reaction that is I shouldn't be fully accountable for. Of course, there is some accountability, but if I do something, whether good or bad, and somebody is coming at me with negativity or coming at me with positivity, it is for me to examine myself, for God to examine me, and to say, you know, it's okay, you're doing your best, or you're doing your best, but do this better. So it took a long time. That don't take anything personally was a big one for me.
I had a saying that I've said to my sister just recently, that and I heard it on UCB radio, that hurt people hurt people,
Mhm. Mhm.
and healed people heal people.
This book goes into that so beautifully, you'll understand.
Well,
So please get it and read it.
Do unto others as you like others to do unto you.
Exactly.
that as well.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes,
Mother
that's
read
it.
that to me every day. She always read that, Joan, do unto others
Yeah.
as you have others do unto you. And
Yeah,
that's
we
about
learned that
it.
from the time that time we're going to nursery school. Yes.
And that's true, but that's not always happened, because I know that with my sister, she was always fighting in school. I mean, always fighting the teachers, the children. She came home, was fighting me. She used to fight everybody. But now she's a carer. She looks after elderly people and she's very loving. Her fighting spirit is still there, but, you know, I've had
Under
to speak to
control.
her about her. I've had to be bold with myself and say, because there was a time where I stopped talking to her because things that she was doing was personally attacking me. And like you said, Venice, physically and mentally attacking me and her children, everyone around her.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it was like, well, actually, it must be you. But then she has got a loving spirit. And I knew that. And I literally had to tell her the very last time she attacked me verbally, in front of my daughter and in front of my grandson. And I turned away and I said, no, that's enough. I have to go. And I didn't talk to her for about 4 months. And she recognized that I stopped talking to her, stopped calling her, stopped. And then when she came on the phone and asked, why have I stopped talking to her? I said, okay, let me explain to you why. And I explained all the years of what she had done towards me then, and also that time. And I said, and I cannot take that behavior, a verbal abuse from you anymore.
Yeah.
I'm a grown woman. I forgive you. I recognize all the things that you've done as a child, but I cannot have that attack towards me anymore for us to get on. And, you know, since then, we've had the best relationship. And we're only talking since since I was living here. So it's probably 2015, not that long ago.
So you've grown in your confidence and in your strength and in your growth. You develop the confidence to actually tell her why you behaved the way you did. And fortunately, she accepted that she grieved you and behaved differently, which is also a very good thing. Very, very good.
It's good, but it's hard when because you have to find the words, the right words, and you're saying everything in love. You're not saying it with any hate or hurt or malice or like you're gonna feel good. You kind of like, I know that the words that we say have power, and just listening to service and listening to pastor and different people who I'm aligning myself with now
Mhm.
has
Makes a
helped
difference.
the journey along the way to what I could, because once upon a time I would run to my grandmother's bosom with everything. She's not here anymore. So, and I had to find the way of actually standing on your own 2 feet.
Yeah.
And she left to go to heaven in 2006. So, being in my life the whole time and always running to her bosom and hearing the word of God, now I know it was the word of God that she was putting into me.
Yes.
To change my perspective of how I would normally react in the world to
Yes.
something with anger, hate, and taking everything personally, and just changing that, and then aligning myself with people of faith, with good, people who would say, okay, Gillian, let's pray.
Yeah.
And that's what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
You want
Good.
people who are going to help you, not hurt you.
That's right. Thank you. But you got to remember, hurt is a part of the life, life in general. Okay. Can you give me the third one, please? Right.
Can I say something before you move on?
Yes, Dundell. I can see you now. I couldn't see you before.
I've been there a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Yes. And it said some of the things that I'd like to say. But one of the things that I noticed, as she says, her mother says things that are hurtful. My mother has said some things that are hurtful, very, very hurtful. And for years it pained me, really painful.
Mhm.
And I remember my sister, my brother, and my uncle and her, I decided we need to have a sit down and talk to her about the way she speaks to us, the way she addresses us, the way she treats us. I mean, I've always often say, if it was today's day, they would put her in prison and throw away the keys.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
True.
Yeah.
Growing up as with little girl, she really treated me she treated us very, very badly.
Yeah.
And, um, you know, I had to, I thought I was getting depressed about it. I had to see a counselor to help me to get through this.
Mm.
It was that bad. And for years, it was on my mind all the time. And one of the things that really got me through this is my faith
Yeah.
and forgiveness, forgiving her, and even speaking with one of my friend who her mother treated her the same way. And I'm saying to myself, do you think it's because they were born in those years?
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's right.
Do you think it's coming is because I
Yes.
started to question? And that's why I think learning and improving your education is such a good thing.
Amen.
Reading books and learning to talk, learning to look at different perspectives of life really improve your outlook and
Yes,
your
and your whole
future.
being. Yes.
Yeah. And when I speak to my friend, her mother wished her dead.
Yeah.
These things, and things like you're not gonna turn out to be any good.
Yes.
Mhm.
If I had followed my mother, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the words.
Yeah. And
And
the other things are Jamaican mothers. Uh, 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 uh,
it's
All
not just,
Caribbean mothers.
it is not
yeah.
just, I tell you something, it is not just Jamaican.
That's
It's
right.
people of different countries. It doesn't matter where you come from, because I remembered going on a course and it was called, oh gosh, it uh, it's a cultural thing. And they were Asian, they were Welsh, Scottish, British, African, West. And when we went through the whole day, the conclusion is we're humans of different culture, but still have the same things within us. We
Mhm.
have the same sayings, we have the same um,
Habits, problems.
habits,
Yes.
because
Yes.
we are human.
Mhm,
We
mhm.
do the same thing. We're no different. We're no different from people who come from India or from Africa or from America. I
Mhm.
mean, if anyone has ever even seen some of these disgusting, well, I mean, I don't really, once I watched it, actually, it was something about like neighbors, and you find, what is called something like unruly, or your neighbor next door,
Yes.
something like that. And to see
Yes.
how people's behavior is so disgusting, and you wonder, we're not that bad.
Yes, this is
They're
true. This is
really,
true.
they're
Yeah.
really. So it doesn't matter which culture you're from.
Yeah.
And I think faith in God and prayer plays an enormous, or has an enormous impact
Mhm.
on how we look at life.
Mhm.
If
Yes.
we decide to, if we decide to change our outlook and stick to people of in kind, we will find that we change. And also reading, looking at how we can motivate ourselves daily, and reading the words of God and trying to obey the words of God, you will find that your inner self will change.
Yes, this is true. This is true. This is why reading is so important. Praying is
Yeah,
vital because you're keeping in contact with the foundation of who we are, our
yeah,
Creator. So, of course, that is going to influence you. And of course, He sends messages in so many ways that if you are prepared to listen, like Jesus said, let him that hath an ear hear.
Give me here.
You will
Yeah.
hear, you
I
will hear. And I know for a fact that if you ask, it will be given. So if you
yeah.
ask, if you recognize in you the things that need changing and you ask for help to change them, you get it. There is no doubt about it. And this
Yes.
is why we
absolutely.
are not the same today as we were yesterday.
Yes.
You
And
know,
Yes.
it comes with maturity as well.
yeah.
And the
Yes.
sad bit of it is when you know people who are sitting beside you in church behaving this way, that is very painful too. When they forget that when the disciples say to Jesus, how often should I forgive my brother? And he says 70 times 7. They've got no forgiveness in their bones.
Mm.
But you see, this is why you don't take it personally.
Yeah,
You understand that. You don't take it personally. It's down to that person, and each person has to change himself. He has to be, it has to be a personal thing. Okay, thank you for that. I'd like to go now to
Can
number
I say
2.
something, Sister Faith? Can I say
Yes,
something?
yes, yes.
I was, I was gonna say, the generation gap has a
Yeah.
lot to do with it, because sometimes as mothers, we are mothers, and we don't see our children as adults. We still think we are children.
That's
We
right.
talk to them anyhow.
Yes.
Come here, boy. Come here, girl. You know what I mean?
No.
End of the
Mm-mm,
day, one of my daughters courted, right? And
mhm.
her fiance lives in Manchester, and they go backwards and forwards. And my eldest daughter had to say to me, "Mommy, she's a big woman, you know. You know what I mean? Because as a mother, because that gap, and now with the lockdown, they don't get to see each other so often. And
Mhm.
my eldest daughter had to say to me, Mom, she's 28 years of age. She's a woman. You
Yes,
know
yes,
the right
yes,
way as a mother, we the generation gap, daughter, mother, son, we still see them a little boy, a little girl.
True. Yes. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, even us as grown-ups, this is why our development is so important. Because as grown-ups, we can't see our children as grown-ups, but if you don't get out of that frame of mind, you know, if you don't get out of that frame of mind that they're little, I mean, I look at my grandchildren, for goodness sake, they're grown-ups. My grandchildren are grown-ups. So when I'm speaking to them, but then because it depends on your character, because of my character, the way I have been all along, I have always made it easy to relate to another person as they are, as they present themselves. So presenting a child, a child is a child. So I wouldn't speak to a child the way I speak to a grown-up. And therefore, I wouldn't speak to a grown-up, whether they are my grown-up person or somebody else's grown-up person. I wouldn't speak to them like a child. But then when you're joking, you know, when you're serious, sometimes you're joking. And because sometimes I said, look, child, just look at life differently. If I'm having a personal talk with them about the problem that they're having, you know, and, you know, I said, come on, girl, life's not like that, you know, that sort of way. But try to control. When you're not in the control mode, life is very difficult if you're a controller because you make everybody around you afraid of you. And some people feel as if they are to be in the control mode and tell you what to be and what to do, whether you're family or not. And that really is not a very good look at all.
That's right.
Because you create enemies, you push people away from you, okay? And you'll be sitting in a room and that chatter. So-and-so is coming around. Oh, all right. I'll see you next week, or I'll see you tomorrow. You'll hear two people say, three people say in the room because of that person's character. You know, so yes, like I said, this book helped us develop with that. Okay, the third one is be impeccable with your words. Speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the words to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love towards yourself and others. Venice, if you make this font bigger, I'd appreciate it because you seem to be keeping it there. Okay. I find this impeccable with your words. I mean, everything he said was fantastic, but this, when I read it, it was a light bulb for me, really. Speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. It's not easy. Avoid using words to speak against yourself. You know, sometimes people are talking and that when they say I am, certain things come after the I am that is definitely not good for the individual. But because they don't understand
the word.
How to be impeccable with their words, they even speak against themselves. So this is something we have to avoid, gossiping about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love towards yourself and others. That's so sweet as far as I'm concerned, because that's more or less what Jesus said. Do unto others that you would like them do to you. That's what that is exactly. You know, if and I have learned over the years that words are powerful. We speak things into being. And this is why it was so offensive when our parents, our mothers, it's a mother thing. It's a mother thing. I didn't have a father. I had my mother. And her words could be so painful. She had a very accusing way that if she decides that this was the way this was, that's the way it was. And she did it accordingly. It didn't matter if you're guilty. She says you're guilty, so you're guilty. And I used to find that so frustrating as a child that I decided that I would never treat my children like that.
Ah,
I can't accuse
yes.
them of
Same
something.
here. Yes.
I accuse them, and if they defend themselves, I insist that I am right. No,
No, no, no, no.
no,
No.
no.
I think you are right with that, but I think it comes from it comes down the line, doesn't it, from your great grandparents. I don't know if any of you knew your great grandparents, but if you know your great grandparent.
Yeah, I know my great
I know
grandparents.
my great grand. Yes.
So most of the time we wouldn't get to know our great grandparents, three greats above us.
Yeah.
But if you think, I spoke to my godson and my goddaughter about this, because I called it and they told me to write about it as in a book, but I called it the front room mentality. And what I was saying to them was that when I was being raised in Croydon and various different places, when I was being raised, my mother had a front room, and we weren't allowed to go into that front room, which you all probably have had the same sort of experiences, because we're all of a certain age.
Older people.
Yes.
and
Best room.
the best room. So I was talking to my goddaughter and my godson about this, because they couldn't understand the differences between me, how I am with my son and his wife, and the differences that, you know, people will have in different generations. And I said to them that there's a thing in my head called the front room mentality, because when I was being raised, I wasn't allowed to be in my mother's front room. In fact, it was locked. You could only go in there to polish, to clean, if she allowed you to. And you couldn't touch anything. It was for best people who came to visit, etc. That was right. So that was in you could say that would have been the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and probably the 70s, right? And then we grew up and had children, and we don't have a front room. Our children are allowed to sit on the sofa. Anybody can come in the front room. My cat can sit on the
wildebeest.
It's strange. Listen, it's strange. And you know why it's strange? This is why words are powerful.
Yes.
It's now the living room. And
now the living room, right.
Yes. Everybody's welcome.
Everybody's welcome. You can live in the room now.
Yes.
And this is the word. This is, but Mother Faith and some of the elders may know, and people who have gone home, you know, my mother still has a front room in Trinidad.
Haven't moved on. No, they haven't moved on. I was telling my children about an auntie that I had. This auntie was in England for many, many years. And I went to live with her in the 60s when I was a teenager. And everything, she was married, she smoked. She had everything in the house. Every piece of furniture had the plastic on that it came from the factory with. And that is how you sat in it. You sat on the plastic. Okay? You weren't allowed to use the new cups, the good cups.
No.
Or the good spoon, or the good plate. Everything we have to use in the house is something with a chip. Okay? And a piece of spoon. And those things used to irritate me. But I find that the things that I found unbearable with my older folks, I changed them in my life. I decided, no, my mother had 4 of us children. My father was different from my brother and sister's father. And I saw from the time I had sense about that and see what difference it made, all my children will have the same father. I said that to myself. The words are powerful. I said that to myself before I was married, from the way I see things were. You know, I used to talk to myself a lot, go behind the kitchen and tell myself what I want. And because the things that I saw upset me so much, you know, my mother would, I don't think I ever had a chicken leg in my mother's house because that was for her husband. And as for the chicken breast, it's not, I'm never going to see it. You know, I get the chicken neck and chicken foot and stuff like that because what? This is for the big people, sort of thing. You know, up until now, I always have the bony parts of the chicken. Maybe it's because of that. But this stipulation that was being made that you are less, that's it. I am less because I am the child, because I am who I am. Those things used to burn me so deeply that I decided that those were the things that was being crossed off the list as I was having my children of how I was going to.
As the past.
When my children was growing up, when my best friend used to say to me, "My God, you feed the children as if they're princes. You're afraid you make them develop too soon. You're feeding them like this," and things like that. She used to say to me. But because I had made the decision that my children are going to be different because of what I saw, whereas our older folks, they carried, for some reason, they carried the bitterness, they carried the sadness, they carried the pain, they brought it with them and tried to pass it on. But I thank God that we learned differently. I learned differently that no, that's not what I want. I can't do that because that's not what I want. So how can I give to someone else what I don't want? So that has never been a part. So that to be impeccable is so important because the things you say to your children, I mean, if we can remember the things our parents told us with such emotion that we still sometimes even feel the pain of that moment when it was said to us, you know, we don't want to leave that with our children.
No, but we have to help our children, the young ones of today, understand the old times so that they know that the new times, that they, my point was that what I left behind in the front room of my mother's old days, we don't have anymore. So what we have to understand in our era is that there will be a time that we will look at what we've put in place for our children, and we'll look at our children and they will not do things the same way. And we have to accept that is the watered down version of basically the front room is no longer going to be there as we had it. So the children that we have and our grandchildren that we have, the two generations below us, will do things differently from how we did it, and we as a generation.
Sorry, we're playing telephone ping pong. Hang on, let me just turn down this.
And we as a generation, we have to accept that.
Yeah.
We have to accept that the things are going to change for those two generations, and not expect it to stay the same.
Yes.
Because the front room isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
We don't call it the front room, the best room. We call it the living room. And the next generation down, who knows what they will have.
Yeah.
It's true. This is true.
I'm just going to say it's past 3 o'clock now.
Oh, so, okay. I just like to go to the last then. We'll just go quickly through the last. Okay. This is important. I couldn't leave out always do your best, because that is so, this is what we've been doing. And in changing, this is what we've done. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy as opposed to when you're sick. Under any circumstances, simply do your best and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret.
Oh, yes.
That is so another vital piece of information if we always do our best.
Yes.
And very, very important. Can you see the other one, Renee, please?
Mhm.
Okay, this is the fifth agreement. Yes, be skeptical, but learn to listen. Don't believe yourself or anybody else if you don't want to. Use the power of doubt. Question everything you hear. Is it really the truth? Listen to the intent behind the words, and you will understand the real message. I always say, I listen when somebody's talking to me, I listen to what they're not saying. Because sometimes if you can listen between the lines of what they're not saying to you in some situations, you get the truth of what is being said.
And
And
they say it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
true.
Yes.
You can
Person
get
coming over, you listen when the person is coming over, and then you can, determine the outcome. Not what
yes.
you say is how you say it.
Mm-hmm. Ain't what you do, it's the way that you do it.
Right, that as well, Sister Faith.
Yes, yes. You know how we do things. Yes, that's right. Reading between the lines. That's it. That's it. Always read between the lines because there are certain situations that we're in that people will say exactly the opposite of what they're saying. That's what will come out of their mouth. So you have to have that special intelligence. Yeah. Thank you, Valerie. Yes. What is the motive in what you're hearing?
Yeah.
A very important thing for us to look at too.
You
You
know
know,
what? Sorry.
go on.
No, I'm gonna say the way that I am, I rarely read between the lines. I am not a good one for motives. I am not a good one for subtext, but I am a detective on what I am told. I must admit, my philosophy is tell me what you want to tell me, hide and keep private what you want to hide. I'm good with that, but don't lie to me. So, whatever you do decide to tell me, I will investigate and I will pull you up on it. And sometimes my family gets embarrassed because I will just address it so clearly because you told me this and I've researched it and this is not true. I know even with mom at times, she must think I'm a cynic, but I'm not. It's just, if this is what you've told me and I can find out the truth and this isn't the truth, I'm going to hold you to ransom because you had a choice of what words would come out of your mouth. I do not really, I'm terrible on subtext. And the reason why is because if you want to make me angry, argue with me on what you thought I meant when I said it. Argue with me. You said this, but you meant that. No. I said this, I meant it. Therefore, right. You talk to me. I know that there are always subtexts, and I know that there are always subplots and secrets and skeletons. But unless it's really important to my life, I let you keep your skeletons. I will let you keep your privacy. And if you want to tell me, I will keep counsel for you too. I will keep your secret. But if you're going to impart something to me, I will find out the truth. And if I think what you're telling me is not true, I will research, I will ask people, I will get on the internet, I will phone organizations, I will find out. And mom knows I'm a detective for that. I will find out because your mouth uttered this, therefore it had better be true or I will call you to account. I have no time for a subtext or between. You keep your between the lines half the time, and that's. I know it's a bit of a. I know it's a bit of a thing, and I do get the motives as well. But you tell me what you want to tell me. The tone of your voice will let me have your motive. The actual information you impart, I will find out.
But you see, that is good. But you must understand that many a times when you get a piece of information, that is what the person have at the time. So
Yeah.
I don't hold people to ransom for that, because I realize that things change so fast. And I'm a bottom liner. So when I talk, sometimes I'm talking of the bottom line. I don't go into the whole story. Sometimes I hate details, because the details of certain situation is so bitter. I don't want to relive it. I relive everything that I am talking about. I am one of those kind of people. I feel the pain. I somehow other people's pain and feelings, and it transferred. I pick it up. So if I'm relaying a situation of something really bad or strange that happened with someone, I don't want to go into the details. I'm just going to say this happened or that happened. Okay, so that is my thing with me. Because I don't want to relive the situation, I have it like that. But and this is why, don't judge. This is why we've gone through these 5 agreements. Don't feel that what is said because of you. You know, you can sometimes take it for what it is. Don't misjudge people, because what happens is that you are seeing a meaning in the thing that they didn't mean at the time. That is why he said, what did he say in the second one?
The second one, don't take anything personally.
Personally, yes, which is very, very important. Because if you do, you're always going to question people. You're going to expect underlying accusations. And that can make relationships very uncomfortable. So no, this is why all these agreements are really so very important to look into them, look into each one, so that in all your relationships, be it with a stranger or a familiar, you are focused. And this is another thing, stay focused on the present. If you're just taking things at the present moment, because things change so fast. I don't know for you, but things change like a barrel rolling down a hill on a day-to-day basis. So what's applicable yesterday may not be applicable today. Yes, I said that yesterday because that's how it was yesterday. And so much has happened between yesterday and today. Yeah, it probably doesn't apply anymore. So, ladies, I felt it's so important with the life that we are being pushed to live at the moment, for us to strengthen our inner beings with these agreements. Don't make assumptions. Don't take anything personally. Be impeccable with your words. Always do your best. And yes, allow yourself to be skeptical, but learn to listen. Sometimes well, all the time, I do a lot more listening than talking, because I find that I learn more that way. So, yes, ladies, I don't know what you all think of this, and how I do hope that you'll find it useful and apply it to your existence as we are at the present. And I hope we've all enjoyed the little things we learned. Has anybody learned anything that they're going to be taking away?
I've just bought the books.
Hey? You did?
Yes, I've just bought 2, one for me and one for my son, like you said.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful.
Where do you get the books from? Where do you get the
Amazon?
books from?
While Mum was talking, I went on, Sister Gillian and I have been talking. I went online. You've got yours from Audible, right?
No, I've got the Audible is going to give it to me 30 days for free, but I ordered 2 for one for, I like to have a proper book in my hand.
Yes.
Even though I'm listening, I can listen, but I need to go onto the page.
Yes.
That's how I learn.
Yes,
So
and
yeah,
make lines and circles
Amazon.
and things.
I
Yeah.
ordered it from Amazon for £9, 11p.
Mhm.
Yes, yes. Okay, congratulations. Believe me, you want
So,
that's
so what you
well
call
spent.
it again? What is it?
There are two books. One is the Four Agreements.
Yes.
One is called the Fifth Agreement, and the
Yeah.
writer is
Don Miguel Ruiz.
okay. I'll just put that on the group, and I'll
Yeah,
add
the
it to the
four,
chat.
Yes, yes.
the 4 agreements.
Mhm. I think Pastor B was listening, but she's at work, so she is unable to unmute.
Yeah.
Can you speak?
No, I'm back.
Oh, okay, good. How much of what we did you hear?
Probably the last maybe 15-20 minutes.
Okay. Well, the book that I was introducing
Mhm.
was The Four Agreements by Don
Mhm.
Miguel Ruiz. You've heard of it?
I have.
Yes. So yes, that's what we went through, and I think everybody is agreed that it's interesting, if nothing else, and it can be helpful in our lives. So I thank you all. My goodness me, look how long I've been here. We've gone on a little while longer, but yeah, it's been good. I really do appreciate your input, everybody. I really do. So, did you say you heard of this book, Sister B?
I have, but and one of the I have a lot of management books that we've got to look at, and the impact, because my job is I'm a people impact consultant for the government.
Yeah.
So all of these types of books, you have to look at them and how certain pieces of language
Mhm.
that you will use, how that will resonate
Mhm.
to the audience that you're talking to.
Yeah.
Because there are certain, there was one of them today, I think it was about, what was the fourth principle? What's the fourth one? Can you,
The fourth agreement is to do your best.
no, there was one before that, something about speaking.
Yes, be impeccable with your words.
Mhm.
Be
Yeah.
impeccable with your words. Yes.
And in principle, it's something that we will want to all attain to,
Yeah.
but the delivery in practicality, because what a word means to you
Mhm.
means something completely different to me.
Yeah. This is why
And
these agreements come in so handy, because it's telling you there. The first one says, find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want, to communicate with others clearly, as you can avoid misunderstanding, sadness, and drama.
but you see, one word spoken in one culture
Mhm.
means something completely else in something else.
Yes, but when
So,
you're having a one-to-one conversation, you will know who you're talking to and you can deal with that.
but I'll give you a good example. And I know time is spent, but just to show you that sometimes the delivery of some of these things, in theory, they're great, but the practicality is not always so. If you are from Jamaica, Jamaicans say things like, boy, I could have lick him down, you know. They don't mean physical lick down.
Mhm.
It's a term of endearment.
Yeah,
Boy,
it's
you better come on.
colloquialism.
Huh?
It's
Yeah,
colloquialism. Yeah.
yeah. But so you don't take it as any, or you would say, boy, I could have taken the wife and licked down the husband with her.
Mhm.
It's not an aggressive thing. It's just I was either embarrassed by. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
But that same phrase in Nigeria is deeply, deeply offensive.
Mm.
You can lose your life by. So this is what I'm saying to you, that the practicalities of some of these things, for me, the most important one is to do your best. You're not going to get it right all the time,
No?
you know, but do your best with what you've got,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're not going to get it right all the time. And some of these things, the practicality and the deliverance of them is not always as straightforward as we would hope.
Nothing in life is straightforward. As long as we, especially, something that comes to my head, I was telling somebody, nothing that God is involved in is a straight road or straightforward. Nothing at all. Even Jesus, when they want to kill the woman for adultery, him never even open the mouth. Him just bend down and wouldn't look at them and just say, well, let him who's never sinned cast the first stone. Everybody gone. Nobody was there when they learning look up again. So, you know, it is depending on circumstances, people, and this is why we are the way we are, and this is why we are learning these agreements so that we can deal with what we're talking to, who we're talking to, and listen. Listening is absolutely vital, because when you're talking to the person, they can express what they think you mean, and then you can go over it and express it again in their language, so to speak. So this is what communication is, you know, verbal communication. Thank God. I mean, I can only speak English and Patois. So in any other language, I have to seek help if I'm having a conversation with people. And I've lived and moved a lot of Greeks and Turkish people, and I have to say I never had any problem. They understand Jamaican too. So yes, communication is vital. And if we have a principle of how we communicate with family, with friends, with everybody, and be sensitive to other people's recourse in their conversations, be forgiving. So many things is in this five agreements that is in the Bible. So many. So I'm hoping and praying, and I'm thanking you all that this has made an impression on your mind and your heart. And some people I see is already going to read it. And I am grateful for your company this afternoon. Thank you so much, ladies.
Thank you.
Hopefully we'll
Thank
see you
you.
later. Okay, we'll see you
All
later
righty.
when we're
Okay.
going to be learning.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. If you want.